So anyway, here I am this evening. I thought I was showing up to audition for America's Next Great White Rapper over 60. And again, I'm disappointed. And people come to an event like this, the crowd that's here hoping to see that next big, up-and-coming young comedian with that urban hip vibe. Well, obviously, I ain't it. And I thought it would destroy whatever future I have this evening in future comedy and appearing and showing up at, Strip in Vegas by talking about politics. And it's not going to surprise any of the old white guy here that I'm a huge supporter of MAGA. But it's not what you think it is. Make arthritis go away. Can we get behind that?
All right, yeah.
I feel that one in my bones.
And just recently, I had to go to the California DMV. Oh my God. You walk in that place and a mausoleum is more cheery. You're standing in line and the guy in front of you at the counter, they're trying to pay for their registration with a herd of goats. And you come home, you've been there, you feel like a homicidal maniac. And that got me to thinking, why doesn't the state of California subcontract out their DMV to Disney? Hi there! Welcome to DMV Disney! Governor Kevin and I hope you have a wonderful day! You'll see everything's painted in pastels here. Beautiful women behind the counters in princess outfits. Right now, it's time for another mask cartoon! Now see customer number 12 at the Cinderella window. And I had to fill my car up this morning, $100 freaking dollars. It's killing me, inflation's killing me. I need a new gig. I need to start making some money in retirement. That's why I'm gonna set up an OnlyFans site for myself. And I'm gonna sell pictures of my feet. Woo! That's because there's a lot of sick people into S&M. And you know what S&M really stands for?
What's that? Sandals
and moccasins, you sick people. Sandals and moccasins. And, right now, we're here tonight to get away from things. There's a lot going on right now, particularly in Washington, D.C. at the White House. And I'm going to explain right now what's going on at our White House in terms so simple we can all leave here tonight with an understanding. Right now, our White House is like an overly tight pair of men's jeans. I want to repeat that. Right now, our White House is like an overly tight pair of men's jeans. No ballroom! No ballroom at all!
That's gold.
So, we just finished up Pride Month. And tonight, I guess I'm going to come out of my closet. No, not that closet, the hillbilly closet. I'm going to admit to you all that I'm originally from Appalachia, that I'm originally from West Virginia. And if you're from there, you turn out just a little bit differently. I was thinking the other day about Barack Obama. He was raised in Hawaii. If he had been raised in West Virginia, I could see the little family farm, his mother yelling out the back door, Barack, Barack, Barack Obama, where are you at? If I catch you out behind the hen house with smoking that wacky tobacco, you are going to be last. Well, you know what? And so, West Virginians are nicer than most people, I think. I've been all over the United States. And there's a saying in South, well, bless their heart. Now, West Virginians will say, we will do that differently. They will say, well, bless her heart, she fell and broke her arm. In the rest of the South, they will say, well, bless his heart, he was conceived at the family reunion. And And my biggest claim to fame growing up was I was the West Virginia Tech dancing golden bear. And that was once a week. I got to put on a bear suit, have some fun, maybe take some drugs. Okay, anyway. And at that time, I was kind of a lone wolf. I was the only one putting on an animal costume. Now there's this group called furries. And I'm thinking back then, what if they had approached me and said, we understand you wear a bear suit. You know, we get together on the weekend, we all put on animal costumes and we party. And I would say, that is just the weirdest, stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life. But count me in, I'll be there. And so I traveled all over the United States for 40 plus years. I worked in animal management. That's called construction, folks. So I've been a whole lot of places, seen a whole lot of different things. Right after I got out of college, I'm traveling cross country. I pull into my first Mexican restaurant, somewhere outside of Amarillo, Texas. And I was familiar with terms like tacos and burritos, but I'm looking up at that menu board and I'm 22 years old. There was something called a torta and I'm going, is that a Mexican turtle sandwich? And then there was something called chicken with mole sauce. And I'm sorry, my mind went there. I've seen a bunch of Mexicans with sombreros and clubs in a field. That's where they came up with the game of whack-a-mole, catching the moles, throwing them in a pot, cooking them down. I had a burrito. And then I traveled to New Mexico. It was dirty. It was desolate. There were no attractive women. You'd go to the bar on a Saturday night, and the cowboys and Indians would be fighting over who got to dance with an armadillo. And it was there I was exposed to my very first cult, the cult of Amway. And for those of you unfamiliar, Amway is a pyramid scheme where you're trying to operate a Costco out of your garage.
Yeah!
And I'm there and it's raining real hard one day and I'm working with a bunch of Amway zombies. They are listening to a freaking cassette tape. And this guy, to this day, do you like to eat breakfast? Do you like ham and eggs and bacon? Don't you just want to have to kill yourself listening to this tape? Then I left New Mexico. And I traveled west. I traveled over the desert. I traveled over the mountains. It was green. There were palm trees. There were swimming pools. It was paradise. It was Bakersfield. And it was there that I was exposed to one of the most unusual methods of restaurant management I've ever seen. I was having breakfast at the Buck Owens Entertainment Center. I get my toast, no butter. And most people don't like their toast or the women dry and crusty. And then I noticed this lady, she's walking around handing out pats of butter, and I'm just thinking about the conversation she had with her boss. Now, Earlene, these people, they've been piling up the pats of butter. We gotta put a stop to it. I am gonna put you in charge of butter distribution. And I can't give you any more money right now, but just think how this is going to look on your resume in a few years. And finally, I told you I worked some places. I worked in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. This is where the hoot owls sleep with the chickens. Part of what Michigan is literally north of Wisconsin. And it's there I witnessed some of the sickest activities I've ever seen in the United States. Young couples heading south to honeymoon in Green Bay. So my wife and I wedding. We got a hotel right across from Lambeau Field where the Packers play. And at the front desk, they asked me if we wanted the honeymoon suite. And that got me to thinking, just what is a Green Bay honeymoon about? What's it like? How does that occur? So I'm thinking about the mother talking to her daughter a couple of days before the wedding. Honey, I'd like you to wear this Aaron Rodgers jersey on your honeymoon. And you see, I wore the Brett Favre jersey and your daddy really liked it. And your granny, she wore the Bart Starr jersey. Started a family tradition. And I got this little dish towel here. I'd like you to wear that like a center towel. And honey, I want you to whisper behind in your husband's ear, honey, push it in the end zone. So, like I say, then here I am, I've worked 40 years and I've retired. And I've got time to think about things that you don't have time to think about. And take care of things in my life. One thing I like to do is go to church. You remember 6 years ago we couldn't go to church due to COVID?
Yep.
You know, I'm so happy now on a Sunday morning that I can go, sit in the pew, check my Instagram and take a nap, I'll tell you. And then take care of what's really important, go to the potluck. I got my priorities straight. And I try to take care of my health. And I've been talking to my doctor. Of course, they want you to go the plant-based, the vegan. And I've evaluated my diet, and right now I'm about 2% vegan. And if I was milk, I'd be pretty darn healthy. And I've done some evaluating. I figured out that everyone here can do one vegan meal a day. Oreos and potato chips. We can do this, folks. But I have figured out the diet. I finally really have found a diet that works. That silver bullet diet. It's called the wine diet. And so far, I have lost 3 days. So I spend a lot of time, I hate to say this, scrolling. And you gotta watch the algorithm. If you watch puppy videos, you're gonna get puppy videos. If you watch kitten videos, you're gonna get kitten videos. And if you watch 400-pound women on stripper poles, do not linger at all. And then, television. I try not to watch a lot of television, a whole lot of channels and not a whole lot on. You know, prime time. Game shows from 60 years ago, game shows that don't even make any sense. Tonight on ABC TV, it's gender hijinks galore on What Pronoun Am I? And then you get to the weekend. Reality TV. Shows like the 600-pound pimple-popping housewives of Orange County. And then you get on late Saturday night, what do you got? Ancient freaking aliens.
And those young aliens.
No.
They're legal.
As opposed to the oh, he went there.
That's a triple entendre.
Anyway, I watch those shows and I go, where was that ancient alien theorist? Where was that on high school career day? I could have been an alien autopsy leader, a cow mutilation specialist. But no. And I have time to think about things that you don't have time to think about. Well, like television. The other day, one last thing on TV. The other day I saw the old television show Gilligan's Island.
All right.
And that got me to thinking the big Gilligan question, Ginger or Marianne? And by the time it was over with,
The skipper.
but I thought about it. I said, you know, at my age, Mrs. Howell's looking pretty darn good. Mrs. Howell there. She got Magoo a lot. Anyway, get back this Magoo. Okay. Anyway, So, like I say, I have time to think about things. And one of them is women's fragrances. Who comes up with them? I was at this comedy club. I forgot my wallet. I was hungry as a bear. This woman walks by, and I went, "You smell like nachos." And then, who decided that Trojans was a good name for a condom? You know, when I think of Trojans, I think about a gift in Arena Gate. And inside that gift, there's an army. And when that army escapes, it causes chaos and destruction for 20 years. So speaking of chaos and destruction, I have 2 grandsons, age 6 and 7. I'm driving them home the other day, and out of the blue, the little one goes, "When I grow up, I'm going to buy a blue bearded dragon, but not off the dark web." And the other one pipes in, "Yeah, that's a sketchy website." My head flips around like Linda Blair from The Exorcist. "Where did you learn about the dark web?" And they're both going, "YouTube videos." So parents, grandparents, do your kids a favor. Please expose them to those old, politically incorrect, extremely violent Looney Tune cartoons where they're going to learn about classical music from Bugs Bunny and theoretical physics from the Coyote. Can we do that, folks?
Yeah.
So my wife is here this evening. We've been married for 42, almost 43 years. She's my biggest fan. People ask me all the time, "How have you stayed together so long?" I give the most logical answer possible. You haven't seen me naked, have you? And when you've been married for that long, you develop a higher level of communication. And so I'm in the kitchen the other day. I'm doing my Tai Chi workout. And got my tea kettle going, my electric tea kettle, and it starts boiling. And then I hear this rapping in the wall.
That sounded like that.
And it sounds intelligent. And it's freaking me out. And I'm thinking back to some of those old dear church saints growing up back east. "Oh, you've been doing that Asian yogi size. You done summoned a demon." Well, about that time, the tea kettle quit boiling. And I said, "You know that tea kettle, it was just vibrating the metal canisters behind it." 1 minute later, my wife walks in, mad as a hen. And she said, "Didn't you hear me knocking on the wall? SOS, SOS."